We still do 7 NUFC Matters show a week for free. But if you want to help support NUFC Matters, then there are a few ways of doing it. Hit the like button on each live broadcast and video. This helps the channel grow. Hit the subscribe button and select the all notifications bell so you don't miss a single show. If you want to help us financially, then you can join the channel using this button with the membership starting at $1.99 a month. Or you can drop us a donation in the chat using a super sticker. We're also looking for sponsors. If you'd like your brand advertised on the flyers for the show and featured during the ad break, then email John at nufcmatters.com to arrange today.
Critics attack. It feels like I've been talking to myself again. But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say the words, then maybe it's not true. And it feels alright when they come and say to you, you're the only thing that makes us all believe. And it feels alright where the worlds collide. Manipulation stands to make us break. What's that you said coming over you? You wish it upon a star. You wish it on a star. You are, you are, you are. You fight back, it's an all-out attack. It feels like I've been taken on the world's machine. Because I want it more than anyone can dream. You look back and it's all in the past. You tell me how you live by all the things you do. Well, you can be yourself, but maybe I'm not you. And it feels alright when they come and say to you, you're the only thing that makes us all.
Good evening and welcome to a pre-recorded version of NUFC Matters Talk of the Toon with me and Sid. Songs from the Attic 1977 is Sid's channel. Go and subscribe today. How are you, Sid?
I'm very good, thanks. Very good. I was watching the title sequence there and it just sprung to mind there. The Bobby Robson statue looks a bit like Arthur Cox, and I've never seen that before. I've never had like sort of twist. It genuinely does look a little bit like Arthur Cox. But yeah, my first manager that I saw when I started going to the match.
It's funny, isn't it, how many people look at those statues and get somebody completely different. I think I was with Joe Allen. He said that Shearer one looks like Billy Whitehurst if you look at it from a certain angle. But yeah, I'll give you all that.
Nothing worse than that Ronaldo one in the airport. That's just amazing, that one.
Oh, we've covered that on here. I think we've had the photograph of that on here. But there is some poor ones. There really is. But yeah, Joe Allen will be back Wednesday night, 6 o'clock. Make sure you tune in for that. No Rob today. Rob is having a sabbatical, just a week off, and our best wishes go with him. We'll be enjoying his break, and we will crack on. We've got an hour to discuss Newcastle United, and we will chuck in a little bit of music as well, as we often do on this show, just after the advert. So, wow, a week is a long time in football. That's something I said to you on the show last week. And I said that this could be a momentum changing week if we could get the result against Chelsea. And lo and behold, said that's exactly what's happened. We got beaten against Chelsea away from home, but we got the win against them in the cup, and then a wonderful win against Arsenal. So let's start with a cup win first of all. A comprehensive performance, Sid, and people are saying it's Chelsea reserves. The team was worth 500 million. Unbelievable result that, and into the quarterfinals for another year.
Pivotal week, because I genuinely think I genuinely think he may have been in trouble if we'd lost against Chelsea, lost against Arsenal and Forest. I genuinely believe that, I do. And it's swung The pendulum swung absolutely the other way. So absolutely well done, Eddie Howe. Top. Huge round of applause from my side. I have to say, I'm genuinely pleased. I only saw an hour of the game on Wednesday because I went to see the Cult. So I watched it in the Bacchus. It was because they didn't come on till 9:20, which is a really late time. They were brilliant, by the way. And they talked about how much Newcastle was the best gig on the tour so far. Better than Manchester, they said, which was Billy Duffy's hometown. But I thought the hour that I saw, they were fantastic. It was a really tremendous performance. I felt vindicated with my backing of Kelly. I thought he was outstanding. Did everything that I said he had, in terms of his pace, reading of the game. I just thought it was tremendous. So that was really good to see, and prove that he's a centre half. Kraft was magnificent. I think we both selected him as was it right back? I think.
Yeah, we did.
And was tremendous. He's just a really good, solid pro. People forget before he got that massive injury where he's out for the whole year with that terrible challenge in the FA Cup, that he was really pushing Trippier for a starting position, because he's one of those guys who seems to be a bit slow for the first 5 yards, but then he gets ahead of steam and he's actually really quick afterwards. Very, very good performance by him. I thought Newcastle were outstanding. I have to say, in my personal view, and this might not be the norm, but I thought beating Chelsea would be harder than beating Arsenal. I actually envisaged Chelsea to be higher than Arsenal this season in the league. And again, I know that probably goes against the grain where everyone's picking Arsenal being top two. I think Chelsea will be higher than them just because of the squad depth. I think it's really noticeable. Obviously, it helps if you sell hotels to yourself, mind you. But there you have it. The rules are the rules, and they've done whatever they feel is applicable. And I think the squad is incredible. The Chelsea squad's incredible. Can I just say that Mudryk must be one of the worst buys in football history. He's up there with Anthony at Manchester United. 80 million. What does he do? I watched the game yesterday with Man United. He was awful. But the rest of their teams, it's really good. It's a good squad. You take most of their players. And Chelsea, after the beating, I thought it was going to be a really, really tough game. And then when I saw that Chelsea had switched and the whole 11, then I felt confident, because it's for a team just to suddenly rock up and start playing is mad. I think if you put 3 or 4 subs in and replace it that way, then I thought it'd be a very, very even game. But the minute I saw 11 different players, I thought, yeah, I expect us to win this. But they're a terrific team. Nobody can say it's a B team, because a number of those B team players would get into our starting 11. So, yeah, absolutely delighted. I thought we played them off the park, first half in particular. Obviously, I only saw 10 minutes of the second half. And I thought we dominated. Big Joe, magnificent yet again. The left side is definitely his position. It's his best position by the looks of it. Sort of left wing, left inside left, whatever you want to call him. He's definitely that position, and I think he's nailed it. And it's Gordon to be on the right. It might not be his favourite position, but we look balanced. We look like we've got a balanced team. I thought Tonali was probably his best game for Newcastle from what I'd seen, probably along with his debut. He just looked sensational. He was dictating play. He was dominating. It was noticeable that Bruno didn't play. And does it go to show that they can't play together? I'm not convinced about that. I think Howe would have to change the system, though. For them to play in Howe's system, I'm not sure they both can play together unless he pushes Bruno further up, which I've been advocating. But again, Longstaff's was excellent, to be fair to him. He's been terrific in the last 2 games. So again, I'd doff my cap. I think he's a great squad player. I personally don't see him as a starter every game, but a very, very good squad player. I just thought Newcastle were really, really good. I thought the goal was really good. He's took it first time, just turned first, just banged it straight in without sort of thinking about it. He's got that natural ability. I thought the second goal, again, lovely little crossover. The deflection was lucky. It was sort of, I couldn't figure out how it went in at first. I was thinking, how's that gone in? The keeper had a nightmare for Chelsea. He was scared to do anything, scared to come off his line, scared to touch the ball. And again, it showed the fact that he's just very young and quite naive. And one of the centre-halves, Chelsea, was awful. And I believe we looked at him, and I was so pleased we didn't get him. So he just looked like a big lump who was quick and strong, but his first touch was terrible. So deserved winner, Steve. I cannot knock them again. Big shout out for Lewis Hall. What a player we have. We've basically taken Chelsea's 2 previous young players of the seasons, and of the 2 at the minute, Livramento obviously could go on to be tremendous, but Lewis Hall is looking like an absolute bargain. I think it was 28 million or whatever it was. And yeah, what a young player he is. He's intelligent. His touch is brilliant. I love when he sort of does a little shimmy, and people think he's going to go one way, and he just cuts in, and then he's broke. Like there's a load of space all of a sudden, and he'll always slot a lovely little pass through. He's just a very intelligent footballer with a great touch. The only problem he's got, he's not lightning, but he's quick enough. You know, fabulous. I just thought Newcastle were really dominant. I thought we were just really, really dominant. Just cannot fault them. Delighted now. I thought the draw was brilliant. Really good draw for us for once.
Brentford at home, 17th of December for a place in the semi-finals. I mean, one win at home against Brentford away from another 2-legged semi-final.
Yeah, and I'd fancy anybody at home in the League Cup. I'd like preferably to get the second round if we get through. Can I just say don't want to be too presumptuous because Brentford are not pushovers. But if we got through, I'd like to get the second leg at home rather than the first leg. But the dream to sort of tie everything in is to beat Liverpool in a final. That's the sort of dream, because I always insist that Newcastle will only arrive properly for me the day they start beating Liverpool on a regular basis, or beat them in a big scenario, because they're the big bogey team, and they have been since my first ever game that I watched, which was the 74 Cup final. And it would be 50 years. It would be perfect. It would be perfect in terms of, that full circle of 50 years, and it would just be magnificent. I couldn't think of anything better to beat Liverpool in a final. It would just be brilliant. Or seeing Arteta going mental if we beat Arsenal in the final.
Yeah, I mean,
Liverpool would be my choice. I would like to beat Liverpool in a final. That would be the dream.
We had that chance last year. We could have, if we just.
I think we'd have beaten them. I think we'd have beaten them last year with all the kids. Nobody knew they were going to have all the kids in the final. It was just the look of the draw in terms of injuries, wasn't it? I think I'd have fancied us to beat them. I really do. But it's done.
C'est la vie. So that takes care of the cup game. We then fast forward to the Arsenal game on the weekend, and I've got to be honest, I don't know about you, but when I saw the team, I did groan because I thought,
shocked.
What on earth is Eddie Howe doing here? And I mean, I think I'd almost persuaded myself, especially on the Amigos on Friday, is Eddie going to grow a pair, or is he going to revert back to type? And when I saw the team, I thought he's reverted back to type. I don't believe it. This is what he's done. But I didn't, like some people, go out onto social media and have a pop. I thought, I'm gonna let's see what happens. Let's see how he sets up, what the formation is. And I was pleasantly surprised, Sid. And they deserve that, and it just shows you XG and stats mean bugger all, because ultimately it's about putting the ball in the back of the net and not conceding goals, which is what Newcastle did. 1 goal, Alexander Isak, bang, no goals conceded. Newcastle get 3 points and put a huge dent in Arsenal's championship hopes. And give us your views on it.
I was shocked at the team. I thought Kelly had done more than enough to start. And I was really surprised. Same with Kraft. I just thought, wow. And Tonali, I was thinking, wow. I remember texting me 2 mates, thinking, what's going on? What the hell's going on? This is, why are they not starting? But I was wrong at the end of the day. And I mean, it's hard to disagree. I thought Byrne did a really good job in terms of. I think he obviously picked him because they don't have any speed merchants. I forgot the guy's name I forgot his name now because of the no, who was out injured. But they've got no speed merchants otherwise, apart from Saka on the wing. So Byrne can cope with that. And he's obviously great. He's very good in the air generally. and he helped out in terms of the crosses and all the rest of it, because let's be honest, their record is incredible with regards to corners and free kicks compared to our atrocious record. And I thought Byrne obviously did a job. I thought Shaw wasn't great, I have to say. I think he was the one disappointment for me, actually. But I thought it did really, really well. Again, Bruno was superb in place of Tonali. I thought he was magnificent, actually. I thought he dictated play. He wanted the ball all the time. He just passed and moved. I thought it was an outstanding performance by Bruno. I'd go as far to say it was his best game of the season. I just thought we were terrific. He got the calls right. Livramento had a really good game. So who am I to say, oh, Eddie, what you doing? At the end of the day, I did. And as I said to me mates, what the hell's going on here? But I would expect, and I keep going back to this, if we hopefully horses for courses, isn't it? If we're up against a really fast team, then I would want to see Kelly definitely in there as centre half. We have to have that. And I noticed we defended slightly deeper as well. So we didn't have them barging through the middle and just running past with. So it was a slightly different approach. But I thought we played them off the park, absolutely off the park. And there was a couple of really annoying things that really got me after the game, which I'll come to in a second. But I just thought we played just superbly. I thought just about every player played really well. I mean, Pope's kicking. It is what it is. He had nothing to do. I thought the two
saves at all.
No, none. I thought the two fullbacks were superb. Hall again. You know, I keep saying the superlatives. He's just incredible footballer. I thought midfield was excellent. Longstaff put a proper shift in, but it's not all about running around. It's about intercepting and going forward. And I thought he did a really good job. I thought Willock did really well for 60 minutes or so, and then faded off and was taken off. He was very good in terms of stretching the sort of the Arsenal back line, if you like. Joe Linton, just brilliant, man. An absolute colossus. Arsenal must hate him in terms of just barging people over. I mean, he's on the edge. Let's be honest, some of his challenges are on the edge of yellow cards on a regular basis, and the whole aggressive thing. And it's just brilliant, though, isn't it? We've never had a player that style of footballer before, from what I've seen, and it was just tremendous. I thought they all played well. Gordon, that cross was sublime. It was like a Ginola cross or a Keith Gillespie cross from that sort of era, or Solano. It was whipped with pace. Isak, who's normally not great in the air, it was like watching Shearer or Soles just knocking one in. It was a great header. The keeper had no chance, and their keeper, by the way, is outstanding. He's a top keeper. So absolutely delighted. I thought we bossed it. Man of the match for me was Gordon, who I thought was just pivotal in everything that we did. I loved the moment where he intercepted their player, and he looked like he was on goal, and he just took the ball off him towards the end and then sort of ran up the pitch. But my only gripe, and it is a gripe, is that I thought Gordon and Isak were absolutely dead on their feet from 75 minutes. And I personally think how way too long to change them. I mean, Gordon could barely run. And don't get me wrong, he did the interception, so that might not have happened. But he looked out of it. And Isak is strolling around at the end, and I'm not blaming him. He just looked gone. So stick the young lad on. You know, change it up a little bit. Put a bit of legs on the pitch. I would just like to see. That's my one gripe. I was shocked at the amount of extra time, because I predicted 10. My mate Stephen Nexter's predicted 7, and when we saw 5, we both thought, "Wow!" I thought the referee was awful for both teams. I thought it was terrible yet again. The refereeing standard has never been at this low point in British football. I've never seen it this bad. The quality is so awful, but it was equally awful for both teams. I thought it was terrible, absolutely terrible. Arsenal couldn't gripe at the end of the game, although of course Arteta had a moan saying that, as if Arsenal players had come down to our level, which I thought was an absolute cheek. And we're only 3 points behind them, and we've been no great shakes. And yet Arsenal are apparently going to be one of the title favourites. As I said before, I think Chelsea will be higher than them. I think it's between Chelsea, Liverpool, Man City, personally, you know, and I see Arsenal maybe being 4th or 5th. I really do. If Newcastle can stay in or around 3 to 5 points by Christmas and go out and buy 2 or 3 players, we have a real chance of being right up there at the end of the season, which is a total 360 to what I was thinking. I have to say, it's been that pivotal a week. And you sometimes get games like that, don't you, where everything flips. I mean, we go back a couple of years ago, Leeds United away was a situation where everything flipped. And I think this could be that same sort of scenario. I do genuinely think that. It was tremendous. Good atmosphere as well, because half 12s are normally terrible. It was really, really flat, but it was a good atmosphere, you know. And Arsenal fans afterwards seemed, you know, they were all right, actually, to be fair to them. They were sort of saying, oh, yeah, better team won. But can I just make a point, though, with regards to the post-match headlines that I saw when I was coming out of the ground? Blooming BBC, Arsenal dropped points at St James's Park. Whoa. They didn't drop points. They were beaten by the better team. Let's give Newcastle some positive feedback, not just sort of criticism of Arsenal. You know, it absolutely stinks. The Chronicle, I'm sorry, but I've blocked them now. The headline of Isak passes the audition for Arsenal. At what point is that helping the team they're supposed to follow and support? You know, it's a terrible headline. There's no way, for example, the likes of John Gibson would have posted that 20 years ago. It's just an atrocious headline, you know. So I'm sorry, not good enough. Really not good enough at all. Unacceptable. I appreciate you might need clicks and stuff and all the rest of it, but that's not on, you know. And I saw some of the Arsenal fans afterwards on another site harping on about, oh, he's not going to be with us next season. Why? I mean, I don't know about you, Steve, but when I was talking to my mate after the game, I think Newcastle would get 5 players into the Arsenal starting 11. So there's not a huge difference between Newcastle's 11 and Arsenal's 11. I think it's really, really close in terms of a starting 11. I really do. I think Lewis Hall would get in. I think Joe Linton would get in. I think Bruno would get in. I think Gordon would get in, and Isak would get in.
Yeah, I would agree.
5 players get into their starting 11. So 1 player difference in favour of them is not a huge gap. So no, I don't think Newcastle are as far away as we think. After that performance, we've set the benchmark now. Let's not be starting dropping off again. You know, it's all out there now. The levels have all been set with that in the Chelsea game. The Chelsea game was a big turner, though, for me. I think the Chelsea game was the turning point because we played so well.
I was talking to the lads on Sunday, the professionals, about the refereeing, and you've just picked up on it again without me prompting you. Another poor referee. I mean, is the standard of referee dropped that much in the space of the last few years? Do you think?
It's awful, isn't it? It's really, really bad. I mean, we used to have referees that we used to hate. We've always had that, you know, referees that you thought, oh. I mean, I was never a fan, for example, to see Jeff Winter or someone like that, you know, or certain referees who would come to the ground and you think they've got an agenda against the fans. And in the odd case, it might have been true. I don't know. I'm not going to name them. But there's the odd one you thought, oh, but my Lord. But I think most of them would come to the ground. Pretty fair. You get the odd one go, I'm not going to let the fans intimidate me, I think is the attitude that I sometimes feel. But it's just so poor. And I think the problem being is VAR. I think some of them now think that they can just rely on VAR to sort of mop up any sort of issue that they may have, rather than having a pair, if you wanted to use the phrase that you used earlier on, and sort of go with their own gut decisions. Hey, we all make mistakes, and I don't think I have any problems with that if they make a mistake, as long as it's not, you know, as long as they're prepared to hold their hands up afterwards and say, yeah, I made an error, and you say fair dues, you know, we all do it. But I think there's too much reliance on it now at the minute. And also, can I just comment on the fitness levels of some of them? The guy last week was he looked so large, rotund, I think is the phrase I'm going to use, to be a referee. He must pass the fitness tests. So fair enough, but he didn't pass my eye test, I think is the phrase I'm going to use. He was worse again. The Brighton guy, he was atrocious. He was the worst referee I've seen in a number of years. in which we've had some absolute dross. So yeah, the quality is never been worse. And unfortunately, the levels that we had 30, 40 years ago, when they were so much better, the likes of Keith Hackett and all of these guys who were top draw referees, we seem a million miles away from that now. We really do. It's quite disheartening, if I'm being perfectly honest. But I'll go back to a point I made the other week, is some of this stems from the abuse that referees get when they start their careers, or they start off being referees at, under 11 games. The parenting on the side of the pitch is giving them the verbals is absolutely disgraceful. I've done one game as a referee when I was working at the previous school, and honestly, the abuse was unbelievable. You think, well, I'm trying to do the best I can, and the verbals you get is absolutely shocking. I've got a mate, Mal, who does it, and he's got his young son doing it, and they're nothing but professional. They do nothing. They're impartial. They try and, they do the best. And I think some of the parents are trying to live their lives through their kids playing on the pitch. It's scandalous to watch. Honestly, some of the verbals are just appalling, to the point where you can understand if they start banning parents from going to some of these games, which is not what you want. Yeah. But it's so awful. It's so bad. And you've seen people like fighting on the sidelines and all that, and all of that. So you can see why the quality's not so great, because somebody's probably put up with so much grief they've said, right, I've had enough of this, and walked away, and we've lost some really good referees. I also am very much in favour of having fast-tracking players who maybe not quite made it to become referees. So let's say you've got some young kid who's, he's got a 2021 at Newcastle United. He's not made it. He could he's not got a game in sort of the lower leagues. Then, give the lad a fast track. He's played football to a very good level, actually. These kids are going to be fit as lops, is the phrase, and give them an opportunity. And fast track them into the lower levels, of football, and let them rise through the ranks. There's lots of young kids out, and it's a good wage. It's a good wage that they're offering in the referees now. Some of them are on over 100 grand a year, which is not a bad wage at all for. So I can't see why that's the way I would go. Or if you persist with VAR, which I personally would scrap, irrespective of the errors, then have either an ex-pro or, as I was saying before there, a young kid who's played to a good level as part of the VAR team. I would insist on that as well, because many of the referees have just never played football. They've just never played and you don't have to play to a good level. Just play football. You know how it works. You know when somebody's done something wrong, and it's just common sense.
Yeah, it is. Okay, halfway through the show, time for the ads. A big thanks to all our sponsors, Skips and Bins. You can find them at their website, skipsandbins.com. Contact them, www.skipsandbins.com/contact. Say hello to low-cost waste disposal with pay-as-you-go and contract waste management. A big thanks to Mr. Vicky's Sauces, handmade in Cumbria. You can contact them at their website, mrvickys.co.uk. Email info@mrvickys.co.uk or telephone 01768 210 102. A big thanks to our NUFC Matters fanzine sponsor, United Group Travel. They are the Travel and Tourism Award winners 2024. 2-crew driver and courier, local family company, 3-star plus quality hotels and no interchanges. All excursions included. Contact them at their website, www.unitedgrouptravel.com. Email beverly.ugtl@gmail.com or telephone 01670 632 460 or mobile 0791 666 4174. There are no strangers on our tours, just friends you haven't met yet. A big thanks to Media Arts for all the technical side of things. And don't forget, we are also a podcast, and you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, or other podcast providers. If you want to help the channel, You can hit the like button, which is the little thumb under each video. You can click the share button to share it to other social media, or subscribe to the channel. Hit the subscribe button and it is for free. We still do 7 shows a week. Hit the join button and you can join the channel for $1.99 a month to help support us. We do promote events on this channel. Derek Wright is holding his official book launch at the Tyneside Irish Centre, 15th of November. Tickets are £22 and that does include a signed book. Tickets are from newcastlelegends.com. Gold Star Promotions and Gateshead Leisure Centre are bringing Lennox Lewis to the area as part of his UK tour. You can get tickets by calling 0191 250 5066. Tickets start at £39. The Long Sands are back in aid of Dementia Matters and being supported by Lilac Lane and the Chris Norris Band. Saturday, January the 4th, 2025. Tickets £15 from newcastlelegends.com or from the Clooney box office. Peter Beardsley will be at the Tyneside Irish Centre on the 10th of January, 2025. Tickets are available from newcastlelegends.com or from Woucher. An Evening with the Entertainers takes place at the Tyne Theatre and Opera House, the 24th of January, 2025. You can buy tickets for that now from the box office, 0844 249 1000, or from the website, tynetheatreandoperahouse.uk. And the Magpie Lounge is now open at Gateshead Leisure Centre. 7 tokens for £99. Call 0191 250 5066 to book your tickets today. And the first of those tokens will be the 31st of January, an evening with Lee Clark. If you just want to buy tickets separately, call 0191 250 5066. And the book everyone's talking about, The Entertainers, 1992 to 1997, Kevin Keegan's Legacy, is on sale now. The book will be posted out on the 1st of December, written by Will Scott. Over 30 contributors to this book. newcastlelegends.com or Amazon to buy it today. So, as I mentioned earlier, no Rock and Rob today, but Sid and I will hold the fort while he is away for a week. We do have some fan mail, though, and it's a pity Rob's not here to see it, but I'm sure he will catch up on it. And you might remember last week we were speaking to Jason in the chat, who was talking about his Vespa. And the email that he sent us was, "Hi, Steve, here's a couple of pictures of my Vespa in relation to the Jam." He says, "You asked me to send one in for Talk of the Toon show. Great show, like all the others you guys do. Please pass on my thanks to all the lads who play a part in making the show. They do a fantastic job, as do you. Thanks again." Thank you, Jason. Lovely to get that. So there it is from a distance. We've got a close in there. A close in there with the Jam on the front, and then a little close up on the logo and the Paul Weller signature. And there it is again from a different angle altogether. Wonderful, wonderful photographs. Thank you very much for sharing, Jason. Much appreciated.
I used to have a black Vespa.
Did you?
I did. But my knee's so dodgy. I'm going to need a new knee soon. And when you'd park, you'd have to wait at the lights. So it got so heavy on my knee, I had to sell it in the end. So I was absolutely gutted. Much to my wife's delight, mind it, because she hated me riding the bike. But there you have it. But lovely, lovely bike. That very impressive. Well done.
Great stuff. Thank you for sharing, Jason, and thanks for your kind words about the show. So, no Rob this week, but Sid has stepped up to the breach. He is going to review an album first. What are you reviewing, Sid?
So last week we were asked to review All Mod Cons, so we've gone with it, and it just so happens it was 46 years old yesterday. So today is Monday, so yesterday, I think it was the 3rd yesterday. So yeah, so 46 years old. I'm just going to read some of my notes. It's one of the truly great albums, released in 1978. The Jam had released 2 albums the year before, and so the Jam, This Is the Modern World, which first one's very good. I'm not such a big fan of the second one, but this is such a leap in quality. And again, this was an album. It was a make or break album for them. Weller had done some demos beforehand. The record company didn't like them, turned them down. So he went back to the drawing board and basically came up with this absolute banger of an album. It really is incredible. It's one of those albums I play a lot. I often play it going to the match, funny enough. I always like listening to the Jam on the way to the match. This is the first great album for me by them. It's the first two songs almost go together. So you've got hold on, what have we got? We've got All Mod Cons and To Be Someone that just seem to go together as a sort of pair of songs. I love the sort of 1-2 and then the pile and the sort of the speed of it. It's got a real sort of clean sound of it. It's really powerful. It's really fresh. There's something unusual about it, and it's just they're absolutely perfect together as an opening pair. So a really great kickoff, if you like. We then got Mr. Clean, which is as good as anything Ray Davies done, in my opinion. So in terms of Weller's lyrics, yeah, they absolutely match the brilliance of Ray Davies in terms of telling a story. That the narrative is absolutely outstanding. I love the space on it as well. And then the power is a trio. The power is really remarkable in terms of the way that they're able to sort of put that across. Then, speaking of Ray Davies, we have their cover of David Watts, which was on one of the Jam albums. I think it might be something else, and it's as good, if not better. We've got Bruce singing it, and it's absolutely superb. What a great cover version. And of course, it was released as a single. And I think at some point, the Jam ridiculously had something like 6 songs in the top 10 all at one time. And I think was it released as I think it might be French. I can't remember. I'd have to check now. We've then got In the Crowd, which he still performs on occasions. Sorry, I beg your pardon. I missed out English Rose there, which is a beautiful ballad, and it really breaks it up a little bit. It's so different. It's beautifully put together, and it's almost an indicator of where he'd go on and do slightly later on in his career. It's a beautiful song, and it's very different to anything I think the Jam had actually recorded at that point. It's a real highlight. We then got In the Crowd. This is, again, very sort of a perfect mod song, if you like, and would become a real anthem. And it also links to the whole mod thing that would happen in 79 with the Who's release of Quadrophenia as well in terms of the film. And so we had the mod revival of 79. So this works in perfectly In the Crowd. It is brilliant. I love the resonance of it and the feel of it. We've then got Billy Hunt, which is just fantastic. It kicks off really well, really, really powerful. And I love the whole lyrics thing. They got James Bond referenced in it. I think got Steve Austin mentioned in it as well. It's just fantastic, really, really powerful, really good opener at the side too. It's Too Bad. Oh, it's just a great song. I love Fly. I think Fly is probably the most underrated song on the album. I think it's terrific. Again, The Place I Love, pretty straightforward, but a really, really good song. We've then got A-Bomb and Wardour Street, which is superb. I love the sort of the cowbell, the sort of the space, the guitar. That used to be my sort of ringtone at one point, waking up in the morning as well. So that's it's a sort of real resonance when I hear that. I always think of me waking up in the morning to see A-Bomb and Wardour Street. I love the power and everything kicking in. And then, of course, we've got Down in the Tube Station at Midnight, which bizarrely was going to be dumped and not going to be on the album. And the producer, Vic Coppersmith Heaven, rescued it, said he really, really liked it. So they went in, re-recorded it, and it's probably the best track on the album. The bass line by Bruce is magnificent. They're really underrated musicians, in my opinion. It's, the references to right-wing thugs are sadly pertinent today. It's, everything he says then is absolutely right now. Is a genius. But this is one of the greatest albums he ever did. We discussed sound effects on a show not that long ago as well, and that's also a huge highlight for me. They had 3 or 4 really great albums, and this is the start of them. It's one of the top 5 albums, I would say, of 1978, which is a super strong year, I have to say. And this is it's just perfection. It really, really is. Just a top album. It's one of your favorites, Steve, I believe.
It is, mate. One of my favorites. I mean, I love the Jam, and I'm pretty much the same as you. I can, I can get off, to the match on a match day and listen to the Jam on my way there. And yeah, it's a timeless album. That really is. Setting Suns and All Mod Cons, two of the classics. And yeah, brilliant. And before you review, give you a quick shout out for your book. Rob did ask me for an album, and I had to go back through what we've covered, and I'm pretty sure Rob hasn't covered the Verve and Urban Hymns. So Rob, that's your challenge for next time. The Verve Urban Hymns. Give us your opinion on that when you're back. And
I really like the song Sonnet on it. I think it's excellent.
Yeah, I mean, there we go. Bittersweet Symphony, Sonnet, The Rolling People, The Drugs Don't Work.
Lucky Man's really good as well.
Catching the Butterfly. Yeah, there's some real winners on there. Lucky Man's brilliant as well. Yeah, so I'm not sure if he's done it, but if he has, then we'll get something else of him, of course. But he did ask me for an album, and I'm pretty sure we hadn't done that. I know we'll feature it in the little intro, but I'm not sure.
I think I've seen the Verve at some point supporting someone. I'm trying to remember who, though. It's one of those things, you've seen them, but you can't remember who they were supporting. It might be Weller, I can't remember. I'm going to see Weller again this week in London, actually. Which fits in, but I'm sure.
Well, I've booked up for next year. I managed to get tickets for ELO, so I'll be in Hyde Park for ELO, which I'm looking forward to. I didn't go for like the big VIP tickets. I'm just in the crowd, but I'm not such a huge fan. But I'd love to be there, and Hyde Park's such a great
last gig as well, isn't it?
Yeah, so that for me was great, and I've done it again. I've gone and bought tickets for Bruce. I said I wasn't going to. It's like having an addiction.
You got it, man.
So I've got my tickets for Anfield, which we talked about. Would I, wouldn't I? Well, yeah, I have. So I'm going to Anfield on my own to go and watch Bruce again. I'm in the stands. I've done the whole standing down the front thing. I've got myself a nice seat. These tickets aren't cheap, but Bruce still looks after the fans. So
I wouldn't be surprised to see McCartney rocking up, because I saw Bruce and McCartney turned up. And they did one song that was great. And then they were halfway through the second song at Hyde Park, and they cut the electricity because they went past 10:30, which I just thought was unbelievable. How can you cut Paul McCartney off? It's just...
So Hyde Park's more than likely where you would see him, but you never know. He might just be visiting his old house in Liverpool.
He's still got a house in Liverpool, apparently. Still has a place in Liverpool. So, yeah.
All right, well, we'll see. But there we are. That's 2 gigs in the bag already. And I am going to go and see Holly Johnson as well. I've got tickets to go and see him just because it's... I did like Frankie Goes to Hollywood. I've got to be perfectly honest.
Great songs.
Some of his solo stuff was good.
Breaking songs, actually.
His publicity has proved me downfall on that, so I'm off to say that as well. Which book have you brought us this week?
I've gone with, as last week was Halloween, I've gone with the Godfather or Godmother, depending on which way you look at it, of all books. And it's Frankenstein, originally released in 1818 by Mary Shelley. And she was about 18 to 20 when she wrote this. I can't remember now. I'd have to go and double check. There's a real argument. This is the greatest book ever written. It's certainly right up there in my top 10. It's an incredible book. It's nothing but, can I just tell people, like the film? There's no creature with bolts through its neck or anything like that. That's not the case. It was written as a bet. So they were sitting around Lake Geneva. There was Mary Shelley, her husband Percy. There was John Polidori and Lord Byron. And they were having a bet, trying to come up with a scary story. John Polidori wrote a book called The Vampire in 1816-17, which is one of the first vampire books. People forget Dracula wasn't written until 1896, which is like 70, 80 years later. So Mary Shelley had a dream, and she came up with the story of a creature being made from other body parts, and she wrote Frankenstein, which is an incredible story. It's really sad. I don't like the term monster in the story because you feel real sympathy for the creature, is the phrase I'm going to use. And the real monster in the story is Victor Frankenstein. If you read it, it's really moving. It's really sad. Yes, there are murders in it. It's a really touching story. You get different narratives. So you have Victor's narrative, you have the creature's narrative, you have narratives of other characters within the story. It's right up there as the greatest novel ever written. It's right up there. It's certain, as I say, top 10 for me. It's an incredible piece of literature written by a young woman who, I think when she released, did she actually use her name when she originally released this? I'm not sure she did. And then it came out again in 1830 and did. It's her best book, but it's just a work of genius. And I find if you read the book, you'll feel nothing but sympathy for the creature. Yes, it flips, but initially you will have real sympathy. And I'll tell you what's really funny. Of all the film versions, and I've watched about 20, 30 different versions of like the Son of Frankenstein, the Bride, and all those different things. But the version that has the most lines from the novel is Young Frankenstein, which is remarkable. Young Frankenstein has a lot of text from the original novel. And Young Frankenstein is an amazing bit of film. Go and watch it. It's just hilarious. So yeah, Frankenstein, Mary Shelley, a work of genius, absolute genius, and it's marvelous, sad, brilliant, epic, an absolute epic. There we go.
Great stuff. Thank you for that review. And yeah, as I said, Rob will be back next week. Look forward to seeing him then. Okay, Newcastle United travel to high-flying Nottingham Forest at the weekend. And following a Carabao Cup penalty shootout success in August and a Premier League victory in February, it is our third visit of 2024 to the City Ground. It's a 2:00 kickoff. It is live on Sky Sports. All 2,950 tickets given to Newcastle fans were sold, and the away ticket transfer scheme will operate. Neighbours Notts County have opened a fan zone for away fans going to the City Ground, limited to the first 1,000 away ticket holders. The nest is on the Ironmonger Road to the west of Meadow Lane. Early team news: well, Kieran Trippier, Sven Botman, Jamal Lascelles and Callum Wilson remain out, while the status of Matt Targett is still not known. Jacob Murphy is also doubtful. Newcastle have now got 3 players who are one booking away from an automatic 1-game suspension. Dan Burn and Joe Linton, of course, were already walking that tightrope. Fabian Schär has now joined them. As for Nottingham Forest, well, Nuno Espirito Santo's side have won each of their last 3 Premier League games, despite the manager serving a 3-match ban from the touchline. And former Newcastle United striker Chris Wood has been on target in each of those games and had 8 Premier League goals to his name so far. We also will be having a reunion, an old boys reunion, with Elliot Anderson and goalkeeper Matt Sells, who have been involved in the last 3 games. And this game, as I mentioned earlier, is live on Sky Sports. As we're pre-recording this on Monday, there is no announcement of the referee or the VAR officials yet. But I'm sure Tom Dixon will be in the chat and putting it in there right now as you guys watch. As for transportation down there, engineering works mean that buses replace trains between Leicester and Bedford on the Midland Main Line. So fans travelling to and from London may be better off using King's Cross and going via Grand.
And just a reminder as well, I believe the metros are off. I think it's in both directions for quite a bit as well, which is scandalous, but there you have it.
I don't think metros are running between North Shields and South Gosford on Saturday or Sunday.
Both directions,
Yeah, you're having to rely on the replacement bus service. So yeah, that's a valid point. So yeah, big game as always for Newcastle because it's the next one, Sid. But this one's interesting, isn't it? Because Newcastle just started to find a little bit of form again, and even when we were playing badly and not getting results in that 5-match spell in the Premier League, we were still creating a lot of chances. We just weren't converting them. Alexander Isak couldn't score for Toffee. Now he goes into this game having rediscovered his scoring touch, and Newcastle go into the game having one foot in the semi-final, really, and potentially, climbing up that league. And people are saying that Arsenal are still in the title race. Newcastle's only 3 points behind them, Sid.
Yeah. I don't think Arsenal are, but there you have it. I've already made my point about Arsenal.
We're going to Forest, who are flying, yeah.
Flying. They look a really I think what's interesting about Forest is they're a team, really well balanced. He plays like 4-2, is it 3-1, something like that. So he's got the 2 holders, and then he's got your 3. You've got Elliot Anderson on the left, and then you've got the centre forward. And what's interesting is it Elanga is the winger who's not getting a game for them, who Newcastle tried to buy in the summer for about 60 million or something. I might be making the figure up there, but it was a lot of money anyway. And he's not getting a game. They look, as I say, a team. I'm very impressed with the way that they're performing. They've got a number of very, very good players. They've got a terrific centre half. They've got the Brazilian lad. They've got, I forgot his name now, Morgan
Gibbs-White.
Right, really, really rate him. Really, really rate him. I'd like to see him at Newcastle. Elanga, I think it's really, really good, really quick. Because of the pace factor, I'd be tempted to stick Kelly in instead of Byrne. Yes, Chris Woods is not the quickest, but the rest of the team is down that side, so I'll be tempted just in case. The rest of the team, would you keep it the same? Maybe you would. Although I feel a bit harsh on Tonali because I think he's top draw. Or you could play 2 at the back in terms of your double pivot and then hold it out a little bit, try and hit them on the break. I think they're a really good team. I think it's going to be very, very tight. Our record against them down there is exceptional in the last few games. So they are due to beat us at some point. But I don't think they'll beat us this weekend. I don't think Newcastle will lose. That doesn't necessarily say I think we'll win either. I'm going to go for a 2-2, I think. I can see Elliot Anderson scoring or Chris Woods, but I can see us getting a couple of goals as well. I think it's going to be quite entertaining. I think their manager's pretty good actually, and I didn't understand why Spurs got rid of him so quickly. I thought that was a bit of a foolish decision. So yeah, I think it's going to be a really entertaining game. I'd like to see Forest do well. I'd like to see them obviously get beat at the weekend, but then after that do really well for the rest of the season. They've built up a good squad. They've took a financial hit that they shouldn't have probably taken as well. Again, judging by the amount of loans and all the rest of it that's come into being now, they've got a really good case in terms of appealing that as well, haven't they? Now, I think where it's all come out, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting how that pans out. But no, they're a good team, decent fans, great history, of course. When you go back to the Brian Clough era, so their history is very, very good, and good. I expect nothing less than a draw, but an entertaining draw is the way I see it.
I find it interesting. You mentioned the centre halves, and I understand why. Is there anything you would change in that midfield? Would you leave the midfield exactly the same? Because obviously, the fact that he's moved Bruno.
It's a funny one, isn't it? Because it worked so well the other day. And I think he'll stay with that formation. Although I would personally, and I would have 2 in front of the back 4, and change the formation for an away game. But he won't, so that's fair enough. It's his prerogative. Who am I to tell him what to do? So therefore, I would probably keep it the same, and I would either have Bruno in or Tonali in, but not both. So one or the other, and I think one's as good as the other. In fact, there's an argument that Tonali's definitely quicker, and he may do more. But Bruno's the captain at the minute, so he's holding all the aces, if you like. So yeah, that's that. I would personally have had 2 in front of the back 4. I had Bruno and Tonali, and it would maybe then be Sean Longstaff who gets dropped out. But to be fair to Sean Longstaff, he's had 2 fantastic games. So I see him as a good squad player. I really do. I always like the concept of play your best players. To go back to Bob Paisley's phrase, you play your best players. There's a famous situation where Alan Hansen was out for 9 games through some sort of injury. He came straight back in and he just said, you play your best players. And I tend to go down that route, but it doesn't mean I'm right. That's just my opinion. So yeah, I would play that, but I don't think Eddie Howe will do that. And as I say, Eddie Howe's tactics against Arsenal was nothing short of brilliant in terms of the way that he did it in the team selection. And we were both shocked and stunned by that team selection, and I suspect he'll probably go with the same starting 11. I think he'll go with the same starting 11. Murphy won't come back because he's got a hamstring injury. So I don't even think he's on any chance of getting onto the bench, to be perfectly honest. So therefore, Gordon will be on the right. And Joe Linton, as I said before, I think his best position's on the left. And he's been fantastic. So just keep him there. And, Joe Willock sort of breaks it all up. So, yeah, that for me is probably the way forward for a little bit, until we get to the Christmas period, until we get to January, and hopefully buy 2 new players. Can I also add one little point there? Because I know everyone's talking about the idea of Barnes and what do we do with him and that. And there's two schools of thought I've got here. Barnes, people forget, was out for most of last season. So who's to say over this season he may not suddenly dramatically improve like Gordon did? Because remember, Gordon wasn't great for the first 6 months, and it was after the 6 months we saw that revelation. So who's to say Gordon won't be the same? Barnes won't be the same because he's not played that long. However, if they decide that they want to cash in, you're going to make no money back in terms of cashing in. But what you can do is you can offer them as a part exchange with regards to, say, for example, Elanga.
Yeah.
No, and you get your 40 million back that way. And you've got somebody else who can play on the left wing in Joe Linton, and then you've got your right winger sorted out then. Or you could do it with regards to, I really rate the lad, I forgot his name now, at, is it Bournemouth? Who was fantastic against us. I really do rate him. Or, of course, the other lad at Brentford as well. So you've got, Bueno's superb. So there's 2 or 3 very, very good players out there who you could offer a part X should you wish to do so. Do I think he'll do it? No. And would I like to see Barnes come on? Yes, of course I would. I'd love to see him transform into the player that he's potentially got. But at the minute, he's not earned the right to start. Although I'd love nothing more to see him come on and get a winner against Liverpool in a League Cup final.
You've got it in your mind that
absolutely hate them, and so I would love to see it. Yeah, love to see it.
Brilliant
so
stuff.
There we go.
Sid, as always, pleasure to spend an hour with you, mate. Look forward to seeing you next week. Take care, man.
Take care, folks. Bye-bye.